Hello everyone, my name is Jared Klimas, and this is my presentation of the SportsLive OBS Scoreboard for my CSCI-281 final project. Alright, so a quick overview of what this program actually is. So this OBS plugin is designed to be used with many sports to give users an easy way to update a score during a live stream. So it's designed to be used in a athletic environment with many sports going on. So sports can include wrestling, basketball, volleyball, soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, wrestling, track, swimming, fencing. All those sports can be included with this program. It's designed to be user-friendly in that sense, rather than the wrestling live program that I wrote for CSCI-181 last semester in Python, which is where this idea actually came from. I used the Wrestle Live program in as a actual practical application last winter during wrestling season, and it worked out very well. And I was thinking we should do something for other sports like basketball, football, something similar. So I decided, well, why not? And the user can actually update many of the fields that would commonly be needed in a stream very easily with this program, which is one of the main reasons why I ended up writing these programs altogether. Okay, demonstration time. Here we go. This is a demonstration of the SportsLive OBS Scoreboard program. Now, I'm going to give a few notes here. First off, there's a few differences between the WrestleLive program I wrote for Python last semester and the SportsLive program. SportsLive is a multifunctional program, so you're going to see that there's more tools available to you in SportsLive than there are in WrestleLive. Also, you'll notice that I removed the timer function. The timer function was removed because it was slowing down the Java program and it wouldn't let any of these other functions run. So rather than risk the functionality of all these other programs or all these other spin boxes and entry boxes, I had to remove the timer function altogether. Now, let's get into the demonstration here. Well, first I want to say the timer that I am using in the OBS program, which is the ticker you're seeing on the top, is coming from a website called scorecounter.com. And, in a normal production environment, you would have a scoreboard, a camera on your scoreboard, which will be acting as your timer. Now, also in a normal production environment, we would have an actual game going on, but unfortunately we don't have an actual game going on. Now, a lot of the pre-game setup comes in OBS, where you have to, set the text files that the program creates to where all these zeros are. Those are all text files that are coming from the SportsLive program that has been written, and as well as the team names when they appear once I populate them into the program itself. Also, you'll see that I have more team fouls and timeouts. Now, with that, you'll notice that you can change those. If I want fouls to represent something else for a different sport, like, for example, yardage or something like that, I can make that happen. It's the same thing for timeouts. I can make that represent something else. You can't change the names on the program or the label of what the spin box is in the program, but you can change the name on the actual label in OBS, so you can make it change whatever you'd like to change. Now, you'll also notice that I don't have downs used in this program. Unfortunately, that is because in basketball there are no downs, and I have it set in a basketball configuration for this demonstration. All right, enough of me rambling. Let's get into the demo. All right, so I'm going to start with the team names. I think we're going to go with the Hawks and the Vikings for our two names. Now, to update the teams, all you'll do is hit the Update Teams button, and the team names will populate in. All right. I also want to make sure each team has 3 timeouts. So to do that, you have 2 options. Use the spin box and go 1, 2, 3. Timeouts populate. Or you can even just get rid of the 0, type in a 3, and hit enter. Boom. Right there. Everything is right there, ready to go. All right. Game time. Let's do it. So the timer is going to start. Once again, not included in the program. And you're running the timer. Okay, So, oh, team 1 just scored a basket. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Up, there was a foul for team 1. Okay, increase the fouls. Things like that. Up, foul for team 2. Basically, that's how that works. It might take a minute, and one thing you do have to be careful of is make sure the text files are linked to the correct location, because sometimes they're not always linked to the correct location, just like in this example right here, where you might not have seen this change. So I'm actually going to check that real quick with the team fouls, and that should be, yeah, that should be all correct. Yep, that is correct. And there we go. I'm going to check that real quick, but that's something you got to be careful for with the text files. And there it goes. All right. So that is basically the program in a nutshell. When you close the program out, it will reset everything. So there is no manual reset button this time. But when you close the program like I'm about to do right now, I'm going to close it out. It's going to stay paused like this. And remember, the timer is not part of the program. But next time you reopen the program, the reset function will automatically be called and clear out your entries, just like so. Except for some reason that one team fouls is being a little bit nutty there. I gotta look at that one. Let me see what that one's doing real quick. Yeah, that up there it goes. But yeah, basically it will clear out your program and adjust it as needed. But it's the same thing with the periods. You could change a period as well. I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So basically the same thing. As you increment the periods in and everything, and the same thing with downs, it does the same thing. Even though I think downs only goes to 4. Yeah, I have the downs only set to 4 because you can only go to 4 downs in football, but in American football. But yeah, that is basically a brief demonstration of the SportsLive program, and I hope you enjoyed it. All right, so there was the demonstration, and I hope you enjoyed the demonstration and found that very informative. So now let's get into the actual nuts and bolts of the program itself with the project outline. All right. So unlike the program written in Python with SportsLive, this program only really had 3 major functions that were written to it. The remove old files function, which got rid of the old files because one of the biggest issues I found was the program thinking, oh, this is an existing file, I'm going to keep the values that was originally written. So rather than have that, I decided to just have a function that will get rid of the old files, so we're starting with a clean slate, which then leads us into the reset function, which will actually get rid of all of the values, the public variables that we've set for team 1 score, the fouls, the periods, all that, because those are set as public variables. It will set that to an empty string or 0, and then call the next function, which is the update files function, which basically will open the text file or create the text file, depending on what we're doing. Write the value of each file, so it'll overwrite whatever's in there. So if it's a 0 and we're changing 0 to 1, it'll put the 1 in there, and then close the text file, which will then update in OBS with the scoreboard. Okay. Now we get into the main function. A lot of it comes in to the main function, where a lot of the J-frame and swing work comes in. So the first thing we do is we create the J-frame. In the J-frame, we set the parameters that we want, how big we want the J-frame, what the positioning is. We then create a label with the title of the program, and then you set the default fonts and sizes all in that first few lines of code there, just so you have something to work with. Then you're going to actually create panels. I did the program a little bit differently, where I actually used the JPanels rather than doing it in a grid method, just because I found it a lot easier that I could just have one panel be sectioned off by panels rather than, by the method. But basically, here's how each spin box works. I'm going to use Team 1 score as an example. The Team 1 score, we have a label that's created for the Team 1 score. Once the label's created, then we actually create the J spinner for it, which is the spin box in the swing program. And then basically from there, then we actually have a listener that's added to the spin box that when you update the spin box, it doesn't call a function. It basically is calling a function when you update the spin box as the listener. And it will then run its method to check what was updated and then update the global variable or the public variable as needed. And then after each input, you would add it to the panel itself. So once you have each of the entry boxes or the spin boxes set in each section, I added it into the panel. And then finally, the last step is add it into the frame, which is the JFrame we just created, which is aka the window. And we're going to go over what was in each JPanel. I actually listed out each JPanel, but I think there's about 4 or 5 JPanels altogether that I created for this program. And then we actually have the produce frame section, which this is where the frame is going to actually be compiled and outputted to the user for the user's use. So what we'll do is, first thing I did was, I reminded, since I don't have buttons that say update team score, update foul, just like the other program, I have a reminder that says just hit enter after you type in and it'll change it. I set the size of the window so it opens and it's not all tiny in one corner, but it opens in a very good, I think it's 1280 by 720 pixels I have it set to, so it opens so you can see it all together, but you can adjust the size of the window as well. And then also creating the method to terminate the program when the window is closed, just so that everything works out at the end, that we don't run into any issues with that. Here's the JPanel breakdown, basically, of what we have. A lot of it works similarly off each other, especially with the J spinners. All of them work basically the same. So like I said in the last part, I set the period spin box and the down spin boxes in the top panel. Then we go to the team names with the update buttons, as well as the team scores and the fouls and timeouts. Those are all in the panels, but it works they're all the same way. This is just how I have it spaced out in the program. Okay. Now I'm looking at my reflection of the program itself. So this project was a bit complicated. It was a bit more complicated than I had originally thought it would be, just because I'm kind of new to the whole Java swing process. But once I was able to find the swing process, and I found a few tutorials online that are sourced in the actual code itself, once I was able to get that process, I was able to get more comfortable with writing the program itself. And it was interesting to create because I did learn about the swing and AWT packages, and I was able to actually use the IO package as well, which helped me do better graphical user interfaces in Java, which is something I have never done before. I've been in Java for about 3 years now, and I had never really had the opportunity to test out the GUI. Now, the only thing that I really was very upset about the project that I couldn't get was the timer. No matter what I tried with the timer, it would always freeze the program, and I wouldn't be able to use any other functions. So I had to, in the end, cut that part from the program to not risk the functionality of the program. So unfortunately, I was not able to add a timer to the program itself. But like I said earlier in the demonstration, in a sports world, you want to make sure the time's exact with the video, because otherwise you may have people complaining, and that would not be good. So that's where using a webcam pointed at the scoreboard comes into a good time. And some potential improvements include, organizing those elements better. You want to make sure those elements are kind of in a better order than they were presented, kind of reordering them, and then finding a way to implement the timer without causing issues. That is my biggest update if I was to do an improvement to this project. I do want to thank you all for watching the project, and I hope you all enjoyed.